everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do the Palette 5000 tag. This was created by Cheek Geek and I've seen so many other creators here on YouTube do this tag. She just created it last month, but yeah, several people have already done this tag and I got a little FOMO, so I thought, okay, I'll join in. No one's asked me, but I will join in. And it's basically, you know, just a palette tag, another palette tag, but we always love these tags, do we not? I have Cheek Geek's channel down below. I will also list the other creators that I've seen so far do this, but obviously I might miss out some people. And yeah, we're just going to go through some questions. I'm going to talk about some palettes and that's about it. Alright, so the first one actually stumped me. It is an eyeshadow palette that you wore on a special occasion. I do not even recall the last time I went to a special occasion other than maybe a date night or going out to eat, but I don't really consider those special occasions and I don't do my makeup a special way for those events in my life. So I don't know the right answer to this prompt, but I feel like I always have a good time when I use my Norvina. I know this is a very boring answer, but I love this palette and I haven't spoken about it too much this year because I barely used it this year, but I still love this palette. And if I do want a nice, beautiful makeup look, then I know that this palette will give me what I want, especially for like date nights and stuff like that. I was gonna do the Natasha Denona retro palette, but I honestly, I don't know, I feel like I'm not a huge fan of it anymore. I don't know, I think it's a little bit too one note, whereas I much prefer this because there's a lot more variety and I still love this rose gold shade right here. And I don't know, it's just beautiful, this palette. So this one, if there were a special occasion, I would probably pick this one. However, having said that, I just do my makeup when on the day that I do my makeup, I do it depending on how I feel that day for the majority of the time. So if I don't even feel like using this, I'll probably just use something else that I think is pretty, that always gives me good time. So I'm gonna say the Norvina, but any given day it could be a different palette. Okay, palette you love but is repetitive. There are a lot of repetitive palettes in my collection. Oh my gosh. Can I speak today? Yes, maybe, hopefully. But I always thought the Artemis from Alter Ego was repetitive. I love this palette and my only critique of it was that there's a lot of shades in here that don't need to be in there or that are, you know, repeated, and, you know, it's very sort of one note mid-tone over here and a lot of them could be removed. I basically thought, you know, why don't they just condense this palette and make it smaller? Obviously they're trying to do the Metropolis from Natasha Denona. That's kind of why I wanted to buy it, because I wanted to have a little piece of that color story and not have to pay the price, and also it wasn't available even when I wanted it anyway. And yeah, this is just a beautiful palette, but it is highly repetitive. I do have other palettes in my collection that are very repetitive, but I don't love them as much, so I feel like this definitely was the one for the prompt. It's the one I actually thought of immediately because I love this palette, but there's just, you know, that niggling feeling that I have when I use it. I'm like, oh, why is there so many mid-tone, you know, shades? Like these two shades are very similar, and then there's all these similar shades over here, and I don't know, I just feel like it was a little unnecessary. Okay, palette you got your money's worth. So the way that I saw this one was a more expensive palette where I've been able to hit more pans and really use the palette more than maybe just once or twice a year. And the first one that I was going to grab was my Urban Decay Stone Vibes palette. However, I did not buy that, I was gifted that. So I didn't think it worked with this prompt because I didn't buy it, so it wasn't my money's worth, but I got whoever bought it, it's my money's worth, which is my mum. But so I decided to go with the Club Nebula from Kaleidos. This is the collab with Angelica, and I think, you know, this was a pricey one. I got with the box. I didn't get it with the cards because I just didn't want the playing cards, but I got it with the box, and this was my first sort of more expensive sort of purchase, like unknown purchase as well. I'd never tried Kaleidos before I bought this, but I just thought, oh my gosh, I gotta support Angie. I like the look of it, let's go and buy it. And so I did. So yeah, it was kind of a shot in the dark and more expensive palette, like I said, but I think since I have purchased it, I have used it And I feel like I have gotten my money's worth because I've gotten a lot of pleasure from it. I've hit several pans. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pans in it now, and I'm still working on a shade, so it's still, you know, visible to me. I'm going into, I just went into this shade a couple of days ago, so it is a palette that's not being neglected from my collection. Even though it's an older palette still, it was expensive, and I feel like I am getting my money's worth, and I'm very happy with it. And yeah, this one I definitely feel like it was worth the money. So the quality is really good. After all these years, quality is just like superb. So yeah. Okay, palette that is an amazing deal. So I mean, I think any Beauty Bay palette, because of the quality, is an amazing deal if you like the color story, depending on what palette you get. I think back in the day, BH Cosmetic was an amazing deal because they have amazing formula, or they did. I haven't tried any of the new stuff, and it, you know, the color stories were all fun, and you know, we all know and loved BH Cosmetics. So I think straight away those would be worth the money and a good deal. I think right now for me, and I've already mentioned this brand a bunch of times on my channel recently, is Gloss Gods. I think if you are in Europe, maybe not so much in the US because I don't know how the shipping is, or like customs or whatever, like it might be a little bit not worth the deal, if I'm honest. But Gloss Gods palettes are about 30 something euros. They're not that expensive for, I feel like, the quality that you get. I think the quality you get is beautiful and stunning, and definitely more like a 50-60 euro style palette, but it's like half the price. And I just can't deny, like, I'm just like falling in love with them. And they have like these 2 new releases now, which I kind of want to get just because I just really love the quality of their shimmers. I think they're a lot of fun. They might not be for everyone, but they are for me. So that is all that matters in my mind. And yeah, if I'm going to recommend something that's a good deal, I think Gloss Gods palettes are a good deal. I would go to the all shimmer palettes versus the matte palettes, because I do like the matte and the shimmer, because I do think that while their shimmers are beautiful and one of my favorites, I don't think their matte quality is at that standard. So if you're gonna go for a palette from Gloss Gods, I would go for the all shimmer ones because I think it's worth it, and you just use it as a companion palette. I think obviously if you've got too many shimmers in your collection, maybe don't do that. But for me, I love shimmers, and that's what it's all for. I would not buy them for their mattes at the moment. I do have a couple palettes where they have shimmers and mattes, and yeah, it's just not the same sort of experience that I experience when I just have the all shimmer one. So that's what I'll say about that. But obviously I don't know what it's like in the US shipping from Gloss Gods, because obviously they are in Sweden. So yeah, you'll have to just let me know if there's an issue there. But for me, I'm in Europe and it is a good deal. Okay, so the next one is Quad That You Love But Wish That It Were a Larger Palette. I only had 2 quads left. So this was, I don't know, it's not even a quad that I love. It's just between the 2 that I have left, it's the one that I enjoy the most and I use the most. Do I wish it was larger? I mean, maybe, I guess, but I have to pick it. But I don't, you know, it doesn't need to be larger because I kind of like it as it is. So this is kind of a prompt where I can't really answer because I can't be truthful with my answer. But if I had to pick one, it would be the Berry Bad from e.l.f. And if maybe just make it like an 8-pan palette, no bigger than that. You could just have one other row, or maybe, I don't know, add a couple more. And then, you know, what would be nice actually in this palette is maybe just a lighter shimmer and, I don't know, maybe some sort of, I would put like a duochrome shimmer in here. But don't we all love those duochromes or multi-chrome shimmers? I would put a lighter shimmer in here for an inner corner and maybe some sort of special shade. Maybe like add 2 more shades and it would be like a stunning palette and it would transform it. As it is right now, it's a good everyday. I grab it when I travel. I just grabbed it again when I traveled a couple weeks ago. We went up north for a few days. I grabbed this palette because it is so tiny and compact and easy to use. And honestly, you could just put on 1 or 2 shades and you're done. Or nothing at all and you just pop on some mascara, depending on what I feel that day. I don't need to bring a huge palette. So if I were to want to have a bigger palette, then I guess it would be this one. And yeah, maybe just 1 or 2 more shades and make them special. Okay, the next prompt is, you love the quality of the shadow but hate the packaging. So I would say, I mean, this was a little bit tricky for me because there's a lot of palettes that I have where I do enjoy the packaging, but let's think about, okay, what's the formula that I love the most? And Beauty Bay would be up there. And I think that their packaging like this, not even like the fact that it's enormous, but just the where it has the bee and the midnight. They have all of these packaging like this, and I don't really like it. I think it's kind of tacky looking, if I'm all that honest. I don't think it's the prettiest packaging in the world, but obviously I love Beauty Bay formula, so I continue to buy from them. But I think their packaging leaves a lot to be desired, let's say it. So you know, not all of them, some packaging, like I think the Book of Magic has a nice packaging, and I think the Wilderness is kind of interesting as well. It's a little bit better, but still like these bog standard ones where they've got all their rainbow palettes and their nude palettes and whatever else, all the 42-pan palettes that they've come out with, or even the mini 9-pan quad, like not quads, but 9-pan palettes. They're all a little bit samey, and yeah, you kind of know that's Beauty Bay's and you see it, so it's kind of on brand, but I don't like the branding, if I'm that honest. So this one kind of had my feelings, because I had to sort of face reality. Yeah, no, I don't really like the packaging, but who cares, as long as the stuff inside is all that matters, right? Okay, the next one is show your dream single palette. I don't have a lot of singles in my collection. I have a bunch of Pastel Roses, and then I have some Makeup Revolution. Actually, they were Makeup Obsession pans that I depotted a few years ago, and I've just never done anything with them. And then I have some e.l.f. ones as well. So I don't have a lot of singles where I can build your own palette and things like that, which I know a lot of people do. But with what I have created what I think is a somewhat pretty color story, and yeah, maybe something that I would like to play around with. So basically I have kept all of my Pastel Roses apart from 2, and I've added some of my Makeup Obsession singles, and then I've come up with this. So basically it is a pinky, greeny color story. You've got some other like special shades in here, where this one is quite special. It's got like a, I don't know what you would call that, but it's got like pink, but then greeny yellow, and I don't know, it's just a stunning mess. And you do have a blue up here as well, but I do like this blue, so I didn't want to get rid of it, and I thought it might be nice with the pink. But yeah, these are all Pastel Roses. I did get rid of one orange one, which I don't think worked with the color story that I was going with. And I got rid of a very like silvery one as well. This one it's got a little bit of yellow to it, so I kept that one in because I thought that would be interesting. But the other one I got rid of was like just like a pure silver one, which I don't think I needed in this color story. So yeah, that is my dream my dream single palette with what I have. I didn't pull any of the e.l.f. ones, so I didn't think they really worked with it. And yeah, this is kind of cool. I just kind of wanted to bring in some of the mattes from Makeup Obsession that I had. I don't have that many. So just like a plain pink matte here, and then a green one to go with like the green, and then maybe a lighter green as well, maybe for like some inner corner stuff, and then like a darker one and a darker purple. So yeah, that is my dream single color story, which I might keep it like this. I actually kind of like it, but I don't know if I would use it, and I need to go wipe my hands. But yeah, these are very pretty. I definitely need to dip into these more. Look at this blue. This is a beautiful. That is beautiful. Why? That's called Blueberry. Yeah, Pastel Roses is very beautiful. I just don't, I have all of those shades, and I just swiped this one, whatever that one was, but I don't do anything with them, which is stupid. Oh, beautiful. Okay, the next one is palettes you like to combine together. So this one's really hard because, again, it depends on how I'm feeling, what sort of shade I'm working on. There isn't one or two palettes that I always use together. That's just not how my brain works. I will say recently I've been liking to go into my Miss Bliss because I am working on a shade in here, which I don't want to spoil you, but I might have hit pan on it. But that one I do like to mix with other palettes when I'm doing like a more peachy look. So for instance, I went into my ABH Nouveau palette today and I did more of like a peachy look. I went into this shade, purple shade, and then popped on my Miss Bliss, and then also went into my Cor-De-Rosa for a little bit of darkness and whatever. I mean, I just like go in and see what I want to use. That's kind of what I do with mostly all of the sort of eyeshadow looks that I do when I'm working on so many shades. If there's one palette where I need to use the whole palette for my Shop My Stash, I'll generally just use that whole palette for that one look, or maybe dip into one or other two shades if it makes sense. But I don't think there's any palettes where I always combine them together. So I can't really answer this question, unfortunately. That's probably as best as I can answer. It kind of shifts and changes all the time. Okay, so the next one is large palette you wish was smaller. I wonder what that would be. So I recently got the P. Louise Blend Away palette, and boy, the quality is actually really nice in this palette. I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised that it was as nice as it is, but the fact that it's like a 50 pan palette, it really makes me not want to use it. Like, look at the size of this. So yeah, I wish this was smaller. This one could be another one where, why are there so many shades that are very similar? Like, do I really need all of these blending shades? I'm not a makeup artist. I'm sure makeup artists do need that, but I do not need that many shades to blend away. I barely blend anything. So I think had this been just, I don't know, a 12 pan palette, it would have been perfect. Or even a 20 pan palette, it would have been perfect. You could have included all of the beautiful special shimmers in there, had some depth and the light, and not have so many of everything in between. So yeah, I wish this was smaller. I generally just don't even, you know, I got it, I tried it, I haven't tried it since. I will eventually do a no pan left behind on this, which will probably take me several months to do, so I'm definitely avoiding that. But you know, it's a good color story. It is a very easy everyday color story. You've just got a bunch of nude shades, everyday browns, you've got some peaches in there, which I do like, and a lot of light tones. I mean, goodness, do we really need that many light tones? I don't think so. So yeah, that one I wish was a lot smaller. Okay, and then eyeshadow palette that I wish had a matching face palette. I might be mistaken with this because I'm not familiar with all of the face palettes out there that match with palettes. There might be one out there that matches with this palette. I was gonna say the Miss Bliss just because I generally like it, and because this is such a peachy palette. I like peachy blush, so I figured this would be a perfect palette for me to use as a blush or a highlighter palette and have a companion one. I just thought, but I wanted to pick a different palette just, you know, for the purpose of this video. I thought, let's just talk about something else. And I think because this palette is so beautiful, why didn't they capitalize on that? And maybe they did, I'm just not aware of it, but I've never really seen a face palette for this palette, and I figured for the Huda Mercury Retrograde, why not? Like this, everybody loved this packaging. Maybe not everybody, but majority of, from what I've seen, do love this packaging and they do enjoy this palette. And it was like a sought after palette for me. I was very envious of people showcasing it, and I just lusted over it for a couple years, and then I finally bought it, and then I didn't want to use it, but I finally started using it. And I think this would be a nice, or it would have been a nice palette to have, a face palette, just because, like I said, the packaging is really beautiful, but also you do have a lot of beautiful tones in here that would make for a beautiful blush. So I think they could have definitely done something that would kind of match a lot of what the palette was trying to do in terms of the color story and the vibe. You could also have some really special highlighter shades in there as well. Maybe have a little bit of iridescent blue one just for these shades up here, and then you'd have a pink one and a gold one. So you could have like 3 blush and 3 highlighters. That's what I was kind of thinking with this palette. I thought that that could have been something that I'm sure they could have made a lot of money off of, but they didn't, from what I understand. And yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with this one. So that is the end of the video. Those are all the prompts. Thank you so much for Cheek Geek for creating this tag. I love to do tag videos. I actually was doing a series on my channel where I'm doing old school tags. I will add this to the playlist, even though it's not an old school tag. It's still obviously a tag. I do have a playlist where I have some other tags as well if you want to have a look and see what I've done recently. But yeah, I like talking about makeup, you know, any chance to talk about something, you know, and little prompts and think about, you know, things differently is always fun to do. And also, you know, I just saw so many people do it. I was like, I want to do it. So I've done it now. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about everything I said. But yeah, those are the ones that I could really think about. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!